Yes, I was just going to run through, I guess, the more formal, um, I guess, attributes that may influence what makes a good learning environment. So obviously, you've got to have the content. So um, uh, the quality's got to be there. Um, we've talked about the educators, so the various teaching styles. So some people are a bit more relaxed, others are a little bit more, I guess, formal. So again, knowing which approach to use for which particular audience, but most of all, enthusiasm and sort of a commitment to the topic seems to be the main drivers.
That agrees with a
And that
comment from Veronica saying that the teacher should be interested.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, look, if you're there doing a presentation and someone's dragged you sort of kicking and screaming to do it, audience members will see that uh, immediately. So if you're not enthused and not committed to the topic, chances are you'll lose the audience immediately. Uh, so the one thing that I was going to focus on now, I guess, is from the student or the learner perspective, and looking at different learning styles and how that may influence what type of presentation styles may be effective with different learners. Um, I've just um, in just looking at this slide, I realised that I've just broken all my rules where I've put too much information with too much animations, and it's been totally useless. But anyway, it's been a nice signpost for me to remember what I wanted to talk about. So th- I don't want to spend too much time in terms of learning theories because look, there's a number out there, and depending on what your flavour is, you could argue for one over the other endlessly, and yeah, and that's evident within the literature. But one of the ones I think is fairly generic is Kolb's learning theory, and it's one that we've heard a lot about in the past, how different how people have different learning styles. Some people are feelers, others are doers, etc. And I guess this is just a more formalized way of identifying that there are different learning styles, and people have preferences for learning, and what approaches you can take, taking into account these different learning styles. So those that are sort of into feeling and sort of whatnot, group work, particularly small group work, is really useful in terms of engaging with the audience, or students, whoever they may be. You have those that are, for lack of a better term, are watchers. So the preference is reading and sort of taking more of a passive approach. Those type of people are quite happy with the traditional didactic lecture where the lecturer gets up and for the next 50 minutes just talks, and there isn't that engagement. They're quite happy absorbing the information like that. Um, with a lot of, I guess in recent years, online activity, a lot of it has become what we call self-directed. So having the ability to um, uh, work at your own pace in a flexible environment is particularly suited for those that are in the workforce. So incorporating an element of online work, which is self-directed, is useful. And then finally, sort of the practical application of getting your hands dirty, and and it's difficult at times to try and incorporate all these aspects across, I guess, different genres and themes. So, if we were teaching anatomy, the practical component would be quite easy to teach, but trying to teach a practical component for evidence-based practice, or uh, research designs or methodology can be challenging at times, but it forces you to be creative. Um,
Dragon Waiting's just noticed that her comment was that visual learners may face problems later um, if the content on the slides and they isn't detailed and they weren't paying attention during the lectures. I guess that goes to learning styles that some people will do better following up the readings later by themselves rather than engaging in the visual, more interactive stuff during class.
Yep, yep, definitely, definitely. Um, I guess following on from that, if I could ask the members here, what type of I won't say learning, what type of teaching styles do you use predominantly in your work? Um, for example, lectures. I think are fairly common. But any other styles or any other modes of teaching that you guys use?
I'll give a minute to type. Anyone who wants to speak up can raise their hand if they like.
Please feel free to speak up.
Nancy's asking if you can see that last slide again.
No problem.
So Rachel uses online platforms like Blackboard. Veronica uses group work with practical presentations from the class. Rebecca says they use a mix, generally avoiding too much didactic content and always using activities to follow a lecture.
Fantastic.
Nancy says she seems to do a lot of group work or talking to your neighbours even in big lectures. Mei Lung suggesting group work, interactive lectures and online.
Yep, you guys are covering all the things that I wanted to cover, which is great.
And
So
Emmanuel suggested mixed didactic and group work with feedback. Sorry, go ahead.
brilliant, brilliant. No, that's all right. I realise we might be running out of time, so I'll just get through these things. But I guess what I want to do is just formalise much of the answers that you guys have given. So I don't know if any of you have heard sort of the jargon sort of in the educational circles, but the differences between traditional flipped and online and blended learning, problem-based learning, self-directed, peer-to-peer, deep versus surface. They're all just fancy ways of saying exactly what you guys have just said.